The worst betrayals don't come with shouting. They come with silence. And sometimes, they come from the person you trusted enough to let hold your child. I still remember the exact moment my world started collapsing. It wasn't when I gave birth. It wasn't when I came home from the hospital. It was when I realized my son had been taken from me, without my permission. For something I never agreed to. A DNA test. But what they found in that test wasn't just shocking. It was dangerous enough that the doctor called the police. My name is Ava Morgan, I am 34 years old, and I live in Queens, New York, USA. And this is the story of how my mother-in-law tried to prove something about my son, and ended up exposing a secret that no one in the family was ready to face. It started quietly. Too quietly. After my son was born, everything seemed normal at first. My husband was happy. My life felt stable. But my mother-in-law was different. She didn't smile the way everyone else did. She didn't celebrate. She observed. Always observing. Like she was waiting for something to go wrong. At first I ignored it. I thought maybe she was just overprotective. But then the comments started. Small at first. Then sharper. "He doesn't really look like your husband," she said once. I laughed it off. "All Barbies change," I replied. But she didn't laugh. She just stared at my son. Too long. Too intensely. Then one day I woke up and my son was gone. Not kidnapped. Not lost. Taken. By her. I called my husband immediately. "What do you mean she took him?" he asked, confused. "She said she was taking him for a checkup," I replied, panicking. But I didn't remember any appointment. I didn't agree to anything. 2 hours later, I found out the truth. She had taken him for a DNA test. Without telling me. Without permission. Without consent. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. "I just needed clarity," she said calmly. "Clarity about what?" I snapped. She looked at me directly. "About whether he really belongs in this family." That sentence changed everything. Because now it wasn't doubt. It was accusation. My husband was furious when he found out. "This is illegal," he said. But she didn't care. "I had my reasons," she replied. And then she added something worse. "If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear." I didn't sleep that night. Because something felt wrong. Not just emotionally. But deeply. Like this wasn't just family drama anymore. It was something bigger. Something hidden. 3 days later, the hospital called. They told us to come immediately. No explanation. Just urgency. When we arrived, the doctor's face looked different. Serious. Uncomfortable. And then he said something I will never forget. "We had to contact the authorities." My heart dropped. "Why?" my husband asked. The doctor hesitated. Then said, "Because of what we found in the sample." Silence. Heavy silence. My mother-in-law immediately spoke. "What are you talking about?" The doctor looked at her. Then at us. And said, "This DNA result doesn't just show paternity." He paused. Then continued. "It shows something that suggests possible identity fraud within the family records." My body went cold. "What does that mean?" I whispered. The doctor didn't answer immediately. Instead, he said, "This is now a legal matter." Police had already been notified. In that moment, everything changed. Not just suspicion. Not just family conflict. Something criminal had entered the picture. My mother-in-law's face went pale. For the first time. She didn't look in control. She looked afraid. Because whatever was inside that report wasn't just about my son. It was about something she had been hiding, something that could destroy everything she built. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. My son wasn't the problem. He was the trigger. And now, the truth was about to come out. The hospital room didn't feel like a hospital anymore. It felt like a crime scene waiting to be explained. Police had already been contacted. The doctor wasn't speaking casually anymore. Every word felt carefully chosen, like one wrong sentence could make things worse. And my mother-in-law, who once walked into every room like she owned it, was now standing completely still. Like she was waiting for reality to either save her or destroy her. The doctor finally spoke again. This result doesn't match the identity records we were provided. My husband frowned immediately. What identity records? The doctor looked at him. The ones submitted with the DNA request. Silence hit the room again. Because no one in our family had submitted anything like that. Except one person. My mother-in-law's breathing changed instantly. Faster. Uneven. No, she said quickly, this is a misunderstanding. But the doctor didn't react. Instead, he added something worse. There is also an inconsistency in the maternal linkage sample. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? I asked. The doctor paused, then said, it suggests the person who submitted this test may have provided falsified family information. That was the moment everything shifted. Because this was no longer about doubt, or suspicion, or family drama. This was fraud. 2 officers entered the room shortly after. The atmosphere changed immediately. Not loud, not chaotic, just final, official, unavoidable. One of the officers looked at the report, then at my mother-in-law. Ma'am, we need you to explain how this sample was obtained. She shook her head quickly. I was just trying to confirm something about the baby, she said. But her voice wasn't steady anymore. It was cracking. My husband stepped forward. You took our child without consent, he said sharply. And now there's police here because of it. She turned to him immediately. I did it for you, she snapped. But this time nobody believed it. Not even him. The doctor interrupted again. There's something else, he said quietly. Everyone turned toward him. He hesitated, then continued. The genetic markers show a mismatch that doesn't align with the declared family lineage. Silence again. But this time it felt heavier. Because now it wasn't just illegal behavior. It was something deeper. Something hidden. The officer looked at her directly. Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us. That was when she broke. Not dramatically. Not loudly. But suddenly. Like a wall collapsing under pressure. I was trying to protect this family, she said again. But her voice didn't sound convincing anymore. It sounded desperate. My husband turned away slightly. Not because he didn't want to see her, but because he finally understood what was happening. This isn't protection, he said quietly. This is control. And she had no answer. Because for the first time, there was nothing left to say. The officers escorted her out. No shouting. No resistance. Just silence. The kind that follows consequences. After she left, the room stayed frozen for a while. No one spoke. Even the doctor stepped back, giving us space. Because the truth had already done its job. It had exposed everything. My husband finally sat down. His hands were shaking slightly. I don't understand how it got here, he said. But I did. I had understood for a while. This was never about my son. It was about fear. fear she never admitted, fear she projected onto everyone else. The doctor placed the file gently on the table. "Your son is safe," he said. "But this case is now part of an ongoing investigation." Then he left. And just like that, everything quieted again. But it wasn't peace. It was aftermath. Days later, we learned more. Not everything at once, but enough. Enough to understand why she panicked. Why she acted without permission. Why she pushed so hard for answers she didn't need. Because there were things buried in the family history. Things she had tried to keep hidden for years. And my son's birth had simply brought them close to the surface. In the end, there was no dramatic revenge from my side. No shouting matches. No final confrontation. Because life had already handled it. The law handled it. The truth handled it. And she had to face it alone. I sat one evening holding my son, watching him sleep peacefully. And I realized something important. Sometimes the real betrayal is what people do to you. It's what they try to prove, without ever considering the damage it causes. And when truth finally arrives, it doesn't argue. It simply ends the lie.